Janavallabha Givaratari Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yashoda Nandana Vrajajanarandana Shambunadira Vanachari Shambunadira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Vallabha Giridharadhari Jaya Gopi Vallabha Giridharadhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yashoda Nandana Vrajajanarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Rashti Hari Radha Rashti Hari Radhe Jaya Gauranga Bangalore Bangalore Gauranga Jaya Jagannatha Jagapaladeva Jai Subhadra Jaya Sudarshana Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Ananta Dev Prahlad Narasimha Jaya Ananta Dev Jaya Nitai Chaitanya Jaya Nitai Chaitanya Nitai Chaitanya Jaya Nitai Chaitanya Jaya Jai Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jai Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. जय श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रमाई की जय, श्री श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय, श्री श्री गौरंगी बांगुरीश्वर की जय, दारी चैतन्य की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाचार्य स्तोत्र शतक His Divine Grace Lodai Charanaram Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाचार्य स्तोत्र शतक His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नमाचार्य श्रीहरिदास ठाकुर की जय। जय श्री रूप सनातन भक्त रघुनाथ श्री जी गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शत गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण चंद्र गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जय। श्री क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, कावेरी माई की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, तुलसी महारानी की जय, समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। श्री दामोदर कार्तिक मास की जय। उत्तम एकादशी महामहोत्सव की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories and glories and glories and glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नमस्ते प्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतं सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भक्तिमयी मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुलङ्गायतीं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदन्तारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरं। हरि ओम तत्सत्। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna. So we continue our conversation from Canto 4 of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the creation of the fourth order. Chapter 8, Guru Maharaj leaves the forest, and the text number is 35 today. Please. Yes, look out on your screen. Oh, okay. I get a message that my voice is cracking. Is it better now? I think I'll just adjust a few things here. I hope it is better now. Thank you, Mataji, for bringing that to my notice. Okay. ध्रुववाचा सोऽयं समो भागवता सुख दुःखा हतात्मनां दर्शिता कृपया पुंसां दुर्दशो समद्विद्वैस्तुये। ध्रुववाचा सोऽयं समो भागवता सुख दुःखा हतात्मनां दर्शिता कृपया पुंसां दुर्दशोऽस्मात् वितैस्तुयम्। ध्रुववाच सोऽयं समो भागवता सुख दुःखा हतात्मनां दर्शिता कृपया पुंसां दुर्दशोऽस्मात् वितैस्तुयम्। Word to word translation. Dhruva Maharaj said.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, sorry for the disturbance. Your voice is cracking.
Krishna. Okay, then maybe I'll just have to change my network. Just give me 1 minute. Just give me 1 second. I'm changing my network. I hope my voice is better now. If somebody can confirm, Prabhu's or Mataji's.
It was still cracking, Prabhuji. Can you speak again little?
Okay, word-to-word translation. Dhruva Maharaj said, Saha, that I am this. Is it better
than
now?
yes,
It's
better
better,
than before.
Prabhuji.
Okay. So we'll continue. I'm sorry for that interruption, but let's continue the discussion from Srimad Bhagavatam. Word-to-word translation to the 35th sloka of 8th chapter, 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Dhruva Uvacha, Dhruva Maharaj said, Saha, that I am this, Sama, equilibrium of mind, Bhagavata, by your lordships, Sukha, Dukha, happiness and miseries, Hatatmanam, those who are affected, Darshita, shown, Kripaya, by mercy, Pumsam, of the people, Duradarshaha, very difficult to perceive, Asat Vidaiha, by persons like you, too, but, yeah, whatever you have said. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Translation, Dhruva Maharaj said, My dear Lord Naraji, for a person whose heart is disturbed by the material conditions of happiness and distress, whatever you have so kindly explained for attainment of peace of mind is certainly a very good instructions. But as far as I am concerned, I am covered by ignorance, and this kind of philosophy does not touch my heart. Purport. There are various classes of men. One class is called akamis, referring to those who have no material desire. Desire must exist, either material or spiritual. Material desire arises when one wants to satisfy one's personal senses. One who is ready to sacrifice anything to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be said to have spiritual desire. Dhruva did not accept the instructions given by the great saint Narada because he thought himself unfit for such instructions, which prohibited all material desires. It is not a fact, however, that those who have material desires are prohibited from worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the essential instructions from the life of Dhruva. He frankly admitted that his heart was full of material desire. He was very much affected by the cruel words of his stepmother, whereas those whereas those who are spiritually advanced do not care about anyone's condemnation or adoration. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that a person who are actually advanced in spiritual life do not care for the dual behavior of this material world. But Dhruva Maharaj frankly admitted that he was not beyond the affliction of material distress and happiness. He was confident that the instructions given by Narada was valuable, yet he could not accept it. The questions raised here is whether or not a person afflicted by material nature is fit to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The answer is that everyone is fit to worship him, even if one has many material desires to fulfill. He should take to Krishna consciousness and worship the Supreme Lord Krishna, who is so merciful that he fulfills everyone's desire. Through the narration, it will become very clear that no one is barred from worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even if one has so many material desires. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to Canto 4 of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 8, and the verse that we are discussing today is 35. Om Tat Sat Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagaralitha Shri Vishakam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Kancana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Pranam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshvatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We welcome all the devotees to this wonderful, discussion which is happening here between Narad Muni and Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj is perplexed and he's asking questions, and it's very important that we understand this conversation. And Dhruva Maharaj is putting himself into the condition of a materialistic person, or a person who's in this material world who cannot really understand it, especially when one is afflicted by the Katu Shabda or harsh words of his stepmother. So this is a very common example that we see. We lose our equilibrium when somebody uses some harsh words towards us. That is because we are not able to consider ourselves as the spirit soul. We still consider or identify ourselves with the material body that we have. And when we identify ourselves with the body, the affliction of this material contamination will always hit us. So the shloka very clearly, Shloka is explaining, and Narad Muni is also giving, and the question is asked by Dhruva Maharaj, saying that, yes, Naradji, the great, teacher, great guru, but what happens to a person whose heart is disturbed by the material condition of happiness and distress? This is a very common condition for people like us. We are afflicted by happiness and distress. Again, happiness is not permanent, nor is distress. Distress also doesn't stay for a long time. It's just like the rain and the sunshine. Not that it rains all the 12 months of a year. There is rain, there is sunshine. So it's coming and going, Distress and happiness do come and go with all the human beings because we are in the material world. Whereas one thing that we have to understand is material distress and happiness are only in the material world. There is no happiness and distress as such to disturb you in the spiritual world. There is always happiness, we talk about it in the spiritual world, but it does not disturb you. It does not give you a puffed up nature. In the material world, when there is happiness for some time, then you start feeling good about it. Then you get a good position, then you realize, you think that you become a big man, you become a big person in the society, and that disturbs you. The happiness also disturbs you. As in when somebody does not give you that kind of a respect, then you feel, oh, why? I'm such a big person. Why?
Hare Krishna, please wait. Prabhuji will be back.
I'm sorry for this interruption. I think there has been unstable connection at my end. Beg your apologies for that. And let's continue with our conversation where we were. So even a great personality like Guru Maharaj is saying that, as far as I'm concerned, I'm covered by ignorance. What to speak about ordinary living beings like us? We are definitely covered by ignorance. And during the time when we are covered by ignorance, any kind of philosophy that is given to us does not touch our heart. So that is the reason whenever we are meeting new devotees, we don't really give them the Jnana Srimad Bhagavatam immediately. We tell them to start chanting. We tell them to start visiting the temple. We tell them to start attending some of the programs of Kirtan. Slowly, it is possible for us to get them into the spiritual path. But then initially, if you start giving them philosophy, nothing will touch their heart because they always feel uh, that this kind of philosophy does not touch anybody's heart. So here, going forward, Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains that there are various classes of men, and one class is called akamis. And these akamis have no material desire at all. But Srila Prabhupada said desires are must, and they exist also with everybody. And there is no possibility that there is no material or spiritual desire. That human beings will have material as well as spiritual desires. Material desires actually arise when one wants to satisfy one's personal sense. So if I want to satisfy my tongue, that is a material desire. But if I want to satisfy Krishna and honor that Prashadam, then it's a spiritual desire. So Srila Prabhupada many times uses this word called dovetailing our activities, dovetailing our work, dovetailing our desires. So when you dovetail the desires, it doesn't remain as your own desire. It becomes the desire of the Lord. It actually becomes a spiritual desire. Because when you dovetail something, when you make something as a spiritual desire, even if it is your material desire, if you dovetail it as the desire of the Lord, then it becomes a spiritual desire. So here, Narada Muni is giving instructions to Dhruv Maharaj, but Dhruv Maharaj is thinking that, I am unfit to be receiving these instructions because I am still contaminated. I am still bound by the material nature. And also we realize that, those who are actually having the material desires are not prohibited from worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Once we start worshipping, as I gave you the example, saying that we don't try and give them the highest philosophy of Srimad Bhagavatam right on day one. We tell them to chant one round of Hare Krishna. We tell them to eat prashadam, which is very, relishing. We also tell them to have the darshan of the deities. We also involve them in the kirtan, in the bhajan, in the artis, and then slowly start giving them this knowledge of spiritual life, or slowly start giving them the knowledge of the Shastras. So this is very essential that anybody in this material world can be given the knowledge of spiritual life or worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Dhruv Maharaj himself, being such a great devotee, admits that his heart was full of material desires. What was the desire of Dhruv Maharaj? He wanted to have a bigger kingdom than his own father. Yeah, because his mother, who gave him some harsh words, saying that you should have been born from my womb if you wanted to sit on the lap of your father, which is very harsh for a boy, saying that why there is differentiation. My father is the same. Yeah, I may have multiple mothers, and that's what was practiced in the previous yugas, where the king would marry multiple ladies, and he would have multiple queens, which was pretty acceptable. So he feels that I've been born from the same father, then why do I not have the same position of becoming or sitting on my father's lap? And he was very much afflicted by the cruel words which his mother used, the stepmother. And here it also says that who are spiritually advanced, they do not care about anybody's condemnation or anybody's appreciation. Yeah, there's a scene in our acharyas also many times. We see that they are condemned, but they don't feel bad about it. Or even if they are appreciated, they don't take the credit for themselves. They say, okay, this is because of my guru's mercy, or this is Krishna's mercy. Yeah. Person who are actually advanced in spiritual life do not care for the dual behavior. This dual behavior is either appreciation or condemnation in the material world. But Dhruv Maharaj accepts that he is not above that level. So he's still afflicted by the material distress and happiness. And he was confident that the instructions given by Narada were great. He accepts it, saying that, yes, whatever you're speaking really makes sense for me. It is what it is. It is a fact of life. But I still can't accept it because a person who's afflicted by the material desire is not fit to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But then Narad Muni gives him an answer saying that everyone is fit to worship. Even if one has many material desires to fulfill, he should take the Krishna consciousness and worship the Supreme Lord, who is so merciful that he fulfills everybody's desires. And we see many times that when we are taking up the Krishna consciousness, it slowly even our material desires start fulfilling. That's one path which the Lord makes it very clear for us, or he makes it very smooth for us to follow, so that we don't go away from the spiritual path. And slowly over a period of time, Krishna makes an arrangement for us to follow only the spiritual path. Most of our devotees, who see, initially started very humbly. They came to the temple with a desire, and especially material desire, saying that I would like to become this, I would like to do this. And slowly Krishna starts interacting with them and starts fulfilling their material desires along with spiritual desires as well. And when the spiritual desires also start getting fulfilled, he feels elated. He feels happy about it and starts worshipping more. And as he starts worshipping more, starts dedicating more time, he becomes more and more engrossed, more and more involved into the spiritual life. And over a period of time, his material desires come down and spiritual desires. Yeah. Through this, discussion that Dhruv Maharaj and Narad Muni is having, it is very clear that no one is barred from worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even if he has the material desires. So Dhruv Maharaj, when he started off, his desire was not to see the Supreme Personality Godhead for worshipping. He wanted a kingdom which is much bigger. Mother Suniti said, if you want a bigger kingdom than your father's kingdom, then go to the forest, worship Lord Vishnu. And if Lord Vishnu is happy with you, he will give you bigger kingdom than your father has. He will become a bigger king than your father. So it was only that desire which kept Dhruv Maharaj, the material desire which kept going with him, that I want a bigger kingdom than my father. How can my father be bigger than me? I want to show my stepmother that I can also become a king. Yeah, my brother can become a king. There's absolutely no problem. He did not have any apprehensions about, but then he did not, uh, you know, want to leave his material desire of becoming a bigger king than his father. So very clearly, in the spiritual life, most of the people, so majority of the people, I would say, come to the spiritual life with a want of material desire. And when material desire is dovetailed, transformed into spiritual desire, then the person starts enjoying it. And then over a period of time, his spiritual desires increasing and his material desires start coming down. And then at a later date, he gives it to completely to Krishna. Even desiring spiritual desire is also material because we are desiring it. But then over a period of time, with the mercy of Guru and Krishna, what he starts not desiring anything, he becomes desireless, saying that whatever Krishna does is always good for me. Whatever my Guru Maharaj thinks is always good for me. So these are the steps that slowly one needs to climb up the ladder. Initially, there is material desire. Slowly, he starts getting involved into the spiritual life. And when he start getting involved into the spiritual life, spiritual desires also come in. And when we once we start getting the spiritual desires, our material desires start diminishing and spiritual desires start increasing. And that's how is the progression as far as spiritual life is concerned. So very nice conversation here Dhruv Maharaj and Narad Muni is having. Narad Muni is clarifying every doubt of My apologies. I think there has been an intermittent, disturbance in the network today. I seek apologies of all of you, and then let's move ahead and head with this. So here, Narad Muni is very clearly clarifying, saying that, not necessary that human nature is supposed to have the material desires, and we are all bound by the material nature. And when we have the material desire, over a period of time, we start dovetailing ourselves into the spiritual desires. And once the spiritual desires start increasing, the material desires start coming down. So one did not really think that, there are many times that people think or people talk about it when we tell them that, why don't you chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra? 16 rounds we have been chanting, and you should also take up to chanting. And they say, no, no, no. Even if I chant one mantra, it should be with full concentration. It cannot be without any concentration. So that's not good. So they say quality is more important than quantity. But in spiritual life, we've seen that, quantity over a period of time improves the quality. So devotees start chanting their rounds. They chant one round over a period of time. They increase to 4 rounds. Even if, yeah, we should make efforts to ensure that, the quality of chanting that we perform is of the greatest, quality. But then sometimes our mind starts wavering. That does not mean that you should leave your beats bag aside, because we are all in the material world. We are afflicted by the material nature, and we will not be able to give it up completely. So devotees should continue to chant their rounds and not feel about it, but focusing on every. So there are various ways that we can improve our chanting. One is by focusing on hearing what we are speaking, what we are chanting. That will give us. So speaking and hearing, both of them put together, will give you that kind of an additional, intervention onto it, saying that, yes, I will improve my chanting. The second option that we get is that if you keep a, photo of their lordships in front of you, then you can improve your chanting. Your disturbance will go away. You can even keep the Hare Krishna Mahamantra in front of you and read it from the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and then, focus on that. That can improve your chanting. It is also, I've heard it from some of our senior devotees, that, before we start our chanting in the morning, we should read Srimad Bhagavatam. And if you read Srimad Bhagavatam in the morning, just before you start your day or before you start your chanting, it will also help you increase or improve your chanting and focusing on the holy name of the Lord. So these are all things. That doesn't mean that, a devotee leaves away his requirement, saying that, no, I cannot chant because I'm not able to focus. I'm not able to hear the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. My quality is not good. My mind is wandering everywhere else. No, that's not required. So one needs to practice the spiritual life, and slowly, over a period of time, his material desires his material contamination will start clearing from the heart. There's so much of material contamination which is there in our heart. Our heart is completely covered by the material contamination. But over a period of time, once we start cleaning it, cleaning with Hare Krishna Mahamantra, cleaning it with the spiritual tinge, cleaning it with the association of devotees, cleaning with the association of Srimad Bhagavatam, cleaning with, going to pilgrimage for yatras, taking dip in the holy river, and all of that. That will help us over a period of time to get over this contamination that we have. But nobody can get over the contamination just like that, just overnight, and say, only once I become clear, then I will start chanting. So this is a very clear instructions given by Narad Muni, saying that it is not possible that somebody is completely pure, somebody is completely desireless, somebody is completely without any material anticipation. No, it is not possible. Even brahmacharis today have certain desires which may be material in nature. Yeah. So even full-time devotees, even those devotees who dedicated their lives for a very long time to the movement, also have those desires for some time. And one should not really worry that I have some material desires while I'm chanting, I'm thinking of prasadam. It does happen. And prasadam is not a material desire at all. Yeah. Srila Prabhupada also says that if you can dovetail, there was a question which was asked to Srila Prabhupada, saying that, while you're traveling in the Western world, you're traveling by big, big cars, limousines and Rolls Royce and all that. Why do you travel by such cars when you are a sannyasi? So Srila Prabhupada said, I'm using it in the service of Krishna. Yeah, I'm not using it for my own pleasure. So that's called dovetailing. Srila Prabhupada also gave this example saying that with technology coming up, Srila Prabhupada used the dictaphone, who would record the Srimad Bhagavatam onto a dictaphone. And that can be used in the service of Krishna. He would also use the audio system in the service of Krishna. Today, we are also using this technology. Like we are now connected on a Zoom call and it is also beat on YouTube. So this is technological advancement. But then we are not using the YouTube to watch some of those, movies or some of those shorts or whatever a small, films clips that we get. We are using this technology for preaching the holy name. So spiritual platform can be built on material platform also. It does not mean that you cannot use your spiritual activities to, grow further. You will always grow with a little small gaps and building blocks that we construct on the spiritual life. So material desires will continue. There is absolutely no doubt that it will completely reduce, and then only you can start spiritual practice. So please continue with whatever level of spiritual life that you have. But one desire has to be there, saying that I need to practice spiritual life higher, higher, and higher. And that's the way that we really progress in our spiritual life. So that's one part of it that devotees have to really look at it. And starting today, today is Ekadashi, so we request all the devotees to fast from grains. It's a very auspicious Ekadashi. After 4 months, today is the day when the Lord is waking up. So that is why it is said Uttana Ekadashi. He wakes up on this day after the rest of 4 months, the Chaturmasya. And from today also, for those devotees who were not able to do or follow the vows of Chaturmasya, refraining from certain items during certain period of this Chaturmasya, can follow Bhishma Panchaka. Bhishma Panchaka is a very powerful austerity which can raise our spiritual levels up. So there are 3 different levels of fasting during this Bhishma Panchaka, and devotees would know all of that. The details have been sent across by the temple uh, announcement group that's available on the group. You can look upon it. Today is also a very auspicious day of, uh, the Gaur Kishore Das Babaji's appearance day. Sorry, it is disappearance day of Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, one of our acharyas in the Guru Parampara. And it is very important that we remember Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And he was also called by another name as Vaishnava Sarvabhauma. That means among the Vaishnavas, he's on the topmost position. Because if you see Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he was never spoken very, uh, this one. He was not, in the material sense, he was not very qualified or not educated. But still, his dedication towards the holy name was very, very important. And if we really give the Shreya or the credit of finding the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it actually goes to Shri Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Because when Bhaktivinoda Thakur found that, there's a light coming in from place in Mayapur, he was taken there. He was like a hunched man, He would have folded his body like this, and he was taken on a basket. The moment he was brought to the place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birthplace, which is in Sridham Mayapur Navadvip, he just jumped out of the basket and started dancing. So that's the power of this Vaishnava, and that's why he's called the Vaishnava Sarvabhauma, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. Sorry, I made that mistake. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, not Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. So we will end the class here. Unfortunately, today we had too many interruptions with the network. Wishing all the devotees a wonderful Ekadashi and wishing you a wonderful Bhishma Panchaka fasting. All the very best to all the devotees. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. we've lent the session here because we're all running out of the time. Thank you very much.